special edition is all about tea. Hi, people. Where are you from? Where are you living? I hope that wherever you are, you're enjoying the people and the culture and learning something about the traditions of the country you're living in if it's not your own. For those of you that have been watching and the videos or going to the podcast, you know that this is Craft Nomad. It's episode 8. There is also a blog, www.craftnomad.com. The blog is where most of my creativity in writing happens. Okay. The videos are once in a while kind of things. It's something I'm learning to do. And it's something that I'll only do when I feel like I have something to show you. Because I don't think I'm one of those people who can just sit here and go, "Hi, how are you? I'm so interesting that you should watch my face for a half an hour." No. So it's Craft Nomad. It's in Thailand right now. In the past, there's been a little bit about crafting as far as knitting and sewing, crochet, and that kind of thing. Now it's changing because in Thailand it's a little different. It's warm weather, so the crafts are embroidery, weaving, and silversmithing, that kind of thing. And I'm not doing as much of my own crafting because it's harder to get the supplies, and even if I just need a tool, it can be difficult. They have them, but if you need a needle, it might not be the right size and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to say that the theme of Craft Nomad is going to become broader. Craft is a very important part of tradition and a part of our what we are as human beings. When we make things, that's something that really makes us human. So, studying the crafts of any culture will teach you more about the people. But I'm going to expand that to include other traditions and other things that are common among all people, but will be different in each culture. So, for instance, today we're going to talk about tea. That's not making something in the sense that you have something to hold in your hand, but food and beverage are important parts of every culture, and there's so much to learn. And I was so excited to learn about tea because I love tea and I've been interested for a long time. But even when I lived in San Francisco, there really weren't opportunities to learn about the tea. At that time, the only people who cared about the learning about it were purveyors of tea. The average person didn't go to a tea tasting or a workshop. There were no workshops for the customers like there were with wine. But tea is just as detailed and has a much longer history even than wine. And it's very interesting. And I was so excited when a local tea shop offered a 3-part workshop. I've written a blog about it, but in this case, I wanted to show you the products and really talk about what I learned because the blog, I talk about what the workshop was like and try to give you as much of the facts, but I felt it really needed a supplement. So let's get started just talking about tea. Um, this is jumping ahead as far as what happened in the workshop. I wasn't expecting a gift basket, but there was one at the end, and I was so excited. This is a sample of several of the monsoon teas. These are white teas. In other words, they are not fermented. And I'm a little vague on how that's different from green, um, because there are black teas in here, but they this tea company is working with the hill tribes, and they do a lot of natural teas, and they don't call them organic, they call them wild teas. They are pesticide free because the tea is grown in the forest and it's harvested in the forest, so no pesticides. But it's not organic in the sense that it grows in a farm and they do it a certain way. It's really grown in the forest, and it's from tea trees, which are different from the tea plants on a plantation. And I talk a little bit more about that in the blog, but basically the history is that there are these trees that grow across the mountains, starting in India and all the way across through the areas that connect with northern Thailand. So it would be Burma, Cambodia, Laos, and maybe even some in Vietnam and China. Um, and you can read more about it in the blog, and you can certainly research about it. Um, so that was the first thing that was interesting, was that these are mostly wild teas. I have to check with the owner to find out if all of the teas are wild, but the things that we studied about were mainly about wild teas. Um, I'm not going to show all of the different samples, but inside there are a half dozen of these little packages. And this one says mint. So as you can see, they do infuse the teas sometimes with different flavors after or during the drying process. But if it's a white tea, that means it's not fermented for a long time. And it's kind of like the fermenting with wine as well. So if you're really interested in that, you can study about it. I also did buy some green tea, and I just wanted to show this because one of the ways that let's see if I can do it where you can see this. That tea is just dried. They don't roll it or anything. They just let it dry. And then when it's dry, it's ready to be packaged, and it's not fermented. So they don't allow, basically, the fermenting is allowing like a kind of mold to develop on it. Okay. Um, the next thing I want to show you, I have to go off camera for a minute, so I'll try to scoot so it doesn't, I don't flash you. Okay, the other thing that was in the gift basket, I was so surprised. This is kombucha. I didn't know what kombucha was until a couple of months ago when a friend of mine in Korea posted something on her blog about it. And this is made in Thailand. And so again, a special product that it's pasteurized so that they can bottle it and sell it. Otherwise, the kombucha is a fermented tea. So if it's not pasteurized, it will only last for, a very short time. But this is this way they can sell it and they can export it. Now, kombucha can be it can be alcoholic. These are non-alcoholic beverages. They gave us two of them. One is plain and the other is honey flavored. Um, so it's a fermenting process of actual tea, not the tea leaves. So you make tea, you add sugar, and there's a spongy type of thing that they use called a soji that gets it started. It's somewhat like making yogurt. and there's more about that on the blog. But it has a slight effervescence, not bubbly like champagne, but like some wines. We had a cocktail with club soda, mint, and um, lime, and it was very good. So you can drink it. We also sampled it, of course, just plain, and you can drink it that way, and it's very healthful. And that's another reason it's really popular in Korea. And the reason I mentioned Korea not only was because that's how I learned about it, but surprisingly, I lived in Korea for 5 years and I did not ever hear mention of kombucha. And in fact, kombucha was invented in Korea. So, yay, Korea! Koreans have invented a lot of interesting things. Kombucha is now popular all over Asia. As I said, this has been made in Thailand, and it's also become popular in the West now too, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And you can make it in your home, just like you can make yogurt. I'm not going to do that because these lovely bottles are available, and I'm one person. This is going to last me a long time, even if I have guests, because you basically just, do a little shot of it. Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you were some products from the Miang Hill tribe are the people that are harvesting the tea, the wild tea. And so one part of the workshop was about the kombucha. The next part was about the wild tea. And so the people from the village actually came and talked to us, and they had a translator who would translate it into English. The interesting thing is that the tea leaves that we drink are only from the very top of the branches. And in the Miang culture, the tea tree has been used for indefinite amount of time, and they don't just use it for making a beverage. They also use the lower leaves in cooking. And at the luncheon that we had a salad with cucumber and tomato and tea leaves. Very delicious. We had a rice dish with tea leaves, also quite tasty, a little bit chewy for my taste, but I think, lots of people did really enjoy it. And then my favorite was the fried chicken in a crispy tea leaf crust. Can you imagine? It was so tasty. So what else did they do with tea? Well, they saved the tea leaves. They used them for a lot of things. Um, this is a little sachet, so I'm going to put this in one of my drawers. And then they have the round ones like this, filled with tea leaves. This will be for my shoe closet. And then my favorite one, you saw this in the beginning. This is the wonderful pillow. I slept on it last night. It's filled, completely filled with tea leaves from the tea tree. The scent is heavenly. It's so relaxing. When you drink tea, you worry about too much caffeine, but you can take this pillow to bed with you and just inhale the relaxing fragrance. You don't have to worry about caffeine. This will just relax you and put you right to sleep. I had to have it. They say that the fragrance will last for about a year. We'll see. I'll give you a follow up. The interesting thing, more interesting, is that when the fragrance starts to fade, you put it out in the sun for a while, like a day, I guess. I'll have to check up on that. And then the fragrance comes back. So you can keep doing this. I don't know how long you can keep doing it, but they said you can keep using it until the tea leaves will eventually, of course, break down and become too small, then you'll need a new pillow for the inside. But what a wonderful thing. And if you've never smelled tea leaves, fresh tea leaves, oh, it's a heavenly scent. Um, we also had traditional treat that was made from tea leaves and fresh coconut, and then they roll it in palm leaves. And you will see treats wrapped this way uh, in the traditional markets. I asked if I could get it somewhere locally, and they said no, because since there are no preservatives, there's just no way to get it to the market unless somebody moves here and sets up a stall or something. So they said I will have to come visit, and I might. That is all the things, all the things. I usually don't do one of these haul videos, but this is all the things that I brought back from this workshop. And I really thought I would bring back something like this. And in fact, I only bought the green tea, and this was in the gift bag, and everything else was the kombucha, which they gave us, and then I purchased the tea pillow and the little sachets, because you can't really get those anywhere in town. So it was a wonderful workshop. I learned a lot about tea. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. I've already said that it's the knowledge that you could gain is as extensive as wine. I do want to just show you the chart that they gave us at the tasting. We didn't really need it because by the time he explained to us about the agriculture and that kind of thing, we tested about 12 samples. So, but this has all of the flavors and tastes, just like you would get with a wine tasting. So I plan to go back for a more in-depth tasting. And I heard that they have an actual 2 week workshop. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that, but if I do, you'll hear about it. So there will be more videos like this. Every time I visit a place where they're doing something that I think you won't see at home if you don't live in Thailand, or something that isn't really mentioned in tour guides or not traditionally. Maybe if I do something that's a more popular tourist thing once in a while, I might mention it if I think it's just really not to be missed. But for the most part, I think, you know, the things that there are to see and do, the sightseeing you can learn about from books, the extreme sports, you've got all the clubs that you want to tell you about all the crazy things you can do. Um, the animal things, the animal preserves, I'm not likely to talk about those unless I feel that it's a group that's doing something to help the animals. And sadly, in Thailand, that's not usually the case. So if you come here, be very cautious about going to any of these things. Um, so that's all I have for you today. I hope you'll enjoy the more expanded version of Craft Nomad, and please keep coming back. The videos don't happen that often, but the blogging is going to get more and more regular. Um, I am writing for another website, and that hopefully is going to bring in revenue that will help me improve my skills as a videographer, like get a decent camera. This is all on computer, so and I take pictures. The photos that you see are either taken with my phone or with my Galaxy Notepad. And I've been pleased with that. The quality is pretty good, but the more you get into it, the more you realize that you need more equipment, more software. So Anyway, I won't go on about that, but those are things that are keeping me busy. But the more I write, the more I'm excited also about keeping up the blog. One last thing is that my novel has been completed since last November. I am right now looking for readers. I've canvassed all of my close acquaintances that I think have the right attitude for pre-reading a novel, and no results. I really cannot show it to a publisher until at least a couple of people have read it in the raw form and given me feedback. I'm not looking for critiques. Um, I'm looking for people who will read it and make notes about any inconsistencies, things that where it seems like there's information that's missing, and it's like you're reading along and you go, wait, what's happening? Or where I have in the editing process, which you would be surprised how long it takes, um, I may have moved a chapter and not realized that I mentioned something that came before, and now that chapter is actually ahead. And so when you read it, and I mention, oh, I met the Hells Angels in Columbia Gorge, and you'll go, what? Why were you there? Those are the kinds of things that I need to know. And I will give a list of, like, for instance, I'm not really sure about the introductory chapter, whether I'm going to keep it or not, or whether it should just jump right into the story. So if anyone's interested, please, you can message me, put a comment. That would be the best thing. And then don't don't use the email on the website because I don't check that often enough, but I'll give you another email that I check daily, and um, we'll see. So far, I think maybe I have one person who's going to read it, but I need at least one other person, maybe several. But as you can imagine, it's my novel. It's not copyrighted or published yet, so I'm going to be very particular about who does it, but I hope there'll be some people out there that are interested. If you like literature and reading, and you can read a book in a month with no trouble, you won't have any problem reading this in that amount of time. Um, so that's the only other personal information I have. I hope you're really having a good time crafting. If you're doing some interesting crafting, post on the website and show us some pictures. If you want to know more about Thailand and you'd like for me to do a post or a video about a particular thing that I haven't done, please do. Any questions you have at all, please do. Just put a comment in the website and I'll be happy to get back to you. I do have my my social media posted, but I think directly on the website is the best way. But I hope you're enjoying your crafting. I hope that you are learning about the crafting in the area where you live. And if you find something interesting, tell us about that too. So have a wonderful week or two, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching my video and going to my website, and have a wonderful life. Bye bye.